Futureworld is the sequel to the Michael Crichton movie Westworld, which was a sci-fi epic about a theme park called Delos that was inhabited by lifelike robots that the guests interacted with until a virus was unleashed that made the robots turn on the guests.
What do folks do for companionly entertainment in this town?
I wouldn't know about such things. I'm just running this hotel.
Food's real good, ma'am.
Thank you, stranger.
If I'm paying $1,000 a day to be a weird little pervert, I am not spending my time making small talk in a bed and breakfast. And Delos has different theme parks where you can go to live out your fantasies. They have Roman World, where you can indulge in grand feasts, fight in a gladiator arena, and have sex with robots. Or Medieval World, where you can ride horses, enter a jousting tournament, or have sex with robots. And a new addition is Future World, where you can live on a space station, go on spacewalks, have sex with robots, but you'll probably be suspended from wires most likely. Every world models a random time period, and you wear costumes and engage in the activities of that time, but honestly, the main draw is the whole sex with lifelike robots thing. Like, Delos could have just been a rundown Motel 6 with an attached Arby's, and as long as it had prostitution bots, it would still be the most popular vacation destination of all time. It's been 2 years since the tragedy at Westworld, and Delos has spent billions on safety measures and have shut down Westworld altogether. And Delos has reopened and is just as popular as ever. Again. Mainly because of the sex with robots thing. Like, do you honestly believe that people would let the violent murder of hundreds of guests at the hands of robots get in their way? It's still the #1 vacation that you would not tell your friends and family about. Because, again, it's the most embarrassing theme park to admit going to. And like, if someone does find out that you're going to Delos, your best option is to be like, oh, it's been a lifelong dream of mine to dress up like a medieval knight and have a sword fight. Like, that's the less embarrassing excuse. Peter Fonda plays investigative reporter Chuck Browning, and Browning gets a call from a man named Frenchie Laporte, porn name if I ever heard one, who says that he has information about Delos and wants to meet. Chuck goes to the meeting, but Frenchie gets murdered. His final word to Chuck is Delos. Like, this theme park malfunctioned, and 100 guests were brutally killed, and no one really cares. What information could Frenchie have about Delos that they would feel the need to silence him? I think we as a society have proven that we let a lot of things slide. Chuck and TV anchor Tracy Ballard are invited to Delos to help prove to the public that the park is safe, and to help showcase that the robots are in fact still available to have sex with. That part was underlined twice in their briefing. Chuck and Tracy choose Futureworld to focus their investigation, and the plane ride is full of the most rich and powerful in the world, and game show winner Ron Thurlow, who is drunk enough to say the quiet part out loud.
He told me, once you make it with a robot chick, that's it. You don't never want nothing else. Are you going to do it?
Do what, Ron?
Have sex with a robot.
Come on, Ron. Show some decorum. You're supposed to pretend to be excited about being an astronaut. Don't give away the whole game. Only perverts say that they want to have sex with robots, Ronald. They arrive at Delos and go to get fitted for their spacesuits.
Well, we have blast-off scheduled in half an hour.
And the rocket takes off in 45 minutes. Hi-yo! Chuck and Tracy settle into Futureworld and then find the one thing that Delos really needs to advertise. The life-size Rock'em Sock'em robots. That is the first practical, non-sex application for these robots. Like, that looks fun as hell. And Chuck and Tracy are then given a behind-the-scenes tour of the control room.
Guests always win? We try to make it believable for them, of course, but the guests are always the victim.
I mean, Delos spent billions on safety measures, but this is still a machine riding a horse with a pointy stick. I can see a shit ton of ways guests would get hurt on that. If I was at a resort that had zip lining, I would imagine people getting hurt all the time. Basically, I'm saying they could severely limit their liability if they just focused on the one activity that we all know people are actually here for. I mean, seriously. How awesome would that be? It's live action Punch-Out. And Chuck wants Tracy to distract a crew member so she can get information from him.
I thought maybe later on we could get together. You could sort of help me out.
I'm sorry, that's not possible.
I'm awfully lonely here. Stephen and I kind of like it.
I'm sorry, ma'am. All right, begin the spacewalk sequence on my mark.
And she tries to seduce the worker, but he's not going for it. And I think we all know why. He works at Sex Robot Land. I'm sure he's taken care of. You know, people that work in a restaurant are provided with a free shift meal? Yeah, like that. So he's not being swayed by Blythe Danner. We actually learned that all the human techs have been replaced by robots. Because when your last theme park was shut down because of a machine uprising, the only viable solution is more robots. Have we mentioned that Delos is an American theme park? And that night, Delos drugs Chuck and Tracy and creates robot clones of them, which is part of the Delos Deluxe package. And before you ask, of course you can have sex with your clone. Why wouldn't you be able to? I'm upset that you even asked. They wake up the next day and they go to investigate more of Delos. And they gain access to the underground tunnels. And they accidentally manage to fabricate 3 samurai that begin attacking them until they're saved by a maintenance worker named Harry. And he agrees to be interviewed about Delos. He takes him to his little corner of the park where he lives with a decommissioned robot named Clark.
Is this his face?
Yeah, I kind of got tired of taking it off every time I had to fix it. He don't mind. Well, he used to work at the Roman World. He was one of the original Iron Men in all the orgies. He's seen a lot, Clark has.
This is true. I've seen 3-ways, 4-ways, dog stuff, hand jobs, foot jobs, armpit jobs. We call those A jobs.
It's a wonder he can still move at all.
Oh yeah, my servo motors were pretty gummed up. One guy tried to use mayonnaise as a lubricant. People are weird on vacation.
And Harry mentions that he used to work with Frenchie, but then Dr. Schneider shows up to break up the party. And now there's lots of stories about how Disney does everything they can to never break the magical illusion of the theme park, and that includes never allowing the guests to see any maintenance work being done.
If you think you can do any better, get your iron butt down here, otherwise shut up! 427 out.
Delos has a different philosophy. Like if I was on a pretend date with a robot that just gave me an A job, I wouldn't want a foul-mouthed maintenance worker around. Like this whole situation is already embarrassing enough. And they have Tracy test out a new machine that they're working on that can record your dreams and play them back. And for reasons that are never really explained, she has a dream about the gunslinger from Westworld. Like, really, you made Yul Brynner come back just for a dream sequence? Also, I remember when I was little and my brothers told me that Toys R Us had a machine that could play back your dreams from the night before, and all you had to do was ask an associate for permission to use it. Yeah. Remember when Pee-wee asked to see the basement of the Alamo? Yeah, it went something like that. And in Tracy's dream, the gunslinger is chasing her through a house. And I'm sure if you asked her about it later, she'd say that it wasn't her house, but like she knew that it was her house. You know, like the layout is nothing like her actual house, but in the dream version of Tracy knew that it was in fact her house, even though it clearly wasn't her house. Am I explaining this right? Okay, let's say Tracy lives in a condo, and Chuck goes to talk to Harry, who's in the middle of a game of strip poker with Clark. Clark didn't want to play, but his alternative is the scrapyard, and as hellish as his life is, he's not ready to face death just yet.
I'll call. What you got?
Oh man, he must have been programmed to be a slow-rolling piece of shit, am I right?
I find out you've been cheating, I'm gonna fry your wires.
Oh no, I've been a bad boy. The best way to punish me is an eye job.
An eye job? Is that I as in eye socket, or is it the letter I? And if it's a letter I don't even know what body part that applies to. Chuck tells Harry that Frenchie was murdered, and Harry takes him to the one door in Delos that he doesn't have access to. And now, normally it would be impossible to gain access to a secret facility, but Delos spent all their money on synthetic buttholes and didn't have any left over for door security. But the management of Delos isn't that dumb, and so they only make half of the access immediately visible to anyone in the vicinity. The real security comes from the retinal scanner that reads the robot's eyes. So Harry disables a 700 model robot and removes his face and uses it to gain entry. Is this an eye job? Like, does Harry have sex with Clark with another robot's face over his? Or is that why Clark doesn't have a face, because Harry wears his face? I'm kind of glad they didn't get into all that. We then learn that Delos has not only created robot clones of Chuck and Tracy, but also of many prominent politicians and millionaires. And the robot doubles are then programmed to only want to help Delos, and they're instructed to destroy their originals. Imagine the owners of Six Flags doing this.
You know I'd take you with me, don't you? When we get this thing straightened out, I'll be back to get you. Don't worry about that.
Don't make promises you can't keep. Maybe just one more Y job for the road?
Y job? I have zero idea what that could entail. And Harry meets up with Chuck, but we find out it's Chuck's clone and he murders Harry. And Tracy gets confronted by her clone and she's able to gun her clone down. And then, since every dude named Chuck loves the Highlander, they've all collectively decided that there can only be one Chuck. And the Chucks make it to the top of the scaffolding and one of them falls to their death.
I thought I'd see you off personally.
Thank you. It's just been a fabulous time.
I intend to write a story that will make everyone who can afford it a Delos customer.
Your attention, please. Laker Airways.
That's wonderful.
So they're able to convince Schneider just by lying, and he lets them leave. But just then, Clone Tracy shows up and tells Schneider that he's got the wrong ones. And, yep, they're gone. No way of knowing where that track leads.
Did you talk to Arthur?
Yeah. I told him the whole story. It'll be old news by the time we get home.
Nothing bad will ever happen to Chuck and Tracy. They are 100% safe. So thanks for watching, and if you want to help support this channel, then head on over to Patreon, where we now have about 50 bonus videos, and we've just started our breakdowns of the original Twilight Zone series. The Twilight Zone is the classic sci-fi TV series from the 1960s that usually involved some fantastical otherworldly scenario that culminated in a deep and profound moral message. And sometimes it just had a weird little guy. Look at that little freak.
3 choruses of how dry I am. Let's hear it.
Al, don't do it.
Here, give me a drink, Miss Smith.
The devil with him, I can give you one too, and you won't have to do that for it.
Yeah, but he throws it on the ground, and then I time myself to see how fast I can drink it before it all spills out. I keep track of the times in my notebook. I've made a game of it. I'm fine. Miss Smith pleads with Denton not to do it. And you know what? I think that the kindness and compassion from Miss Smith might just be what Denton needs to start to reclaim some of his dignity. Nope. Okay, he's singing a song again. Barbara watches her old movies trying to relive the glory days, kind of like an aging distracted nerd who drinks several Rob Roys while watching his breakdown of Bloodsport and wondering if he'll ever be able to capture that magic again. A revolver in one hand and a bottle of peach schnapps in the other, contemplating which one would be the most painless option to end it all. And we get another round of kumite action, and the fighting styles are so diverse. You have the riding those motorcycles, you know, the ones with a high handlebar style. I am riding a motorcycle, I am riding a motorcycle. The bare feet on hot concrete style. Hut, 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 hut. The throwing people because there is apparently no weight class style. The try to step on the other person's foot before they can step on your style. I step on your foot. No, I step on your foot. Oh yeah? Well, I counter with a foot stomp. The salesman who was in Hong Kong on business and through a horrible miscommunication at the hotel ended up in an illegal fighting competition style.